To get started, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Janet Davis. She is with Clarkson Davis. She's been in the nonprofit sector for 20 plus years, very knowledgeable of the industry, and she will help guide us, answer some questions, and get some questions answered regarding getting on boards, what the expectations are, and that's it.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. I am just so impressed with the level of energy in this room. It's a wonderful morning. Thank you all for getting up and coming out this morning. The nonprofit sector in Dallas is a very important economic sector in our community. And not only do we care for and educate and entertain and take care of so many people in this in North Texas, but we also employ a lot of people, and we also are an engine behind what happens in this community. And what drives that are the boards that serve these nonprofit organizations. And in North Texas, we've got about 19,000 nonprofits. About 600 of those have operating budgets of $1 million or more. And it probably takes care of about 5% of our GDP here in North Texas, which is a really significant sector. And so the responsibility of serving on one of the boards that drive the strategy and the vision and the purpose and take into account what is the market demand for these agencies, how do they operate in the community, is a critical role. And in our business, which is a management consulting business working exclusively with nonprofits, the first question we get from almost 100% of our clients when we enter into an engagement is, how do we help our board be more effective? And it starts with recruiting. And so for you all to show an interest in this sector and to arrive this morning with so much energy and enthusiasm and curiosity and willingness and desire to help this community is a really wonderful thing. And it gives us a lot of hope for the future. So thank you for coming, and we hope that you find a match throughout this process. And we're so grateful to you for spending the time. So with that, we'll jump right in, and we've got some really awesome people here this morning. I think that's probably what drove the great attendance. You all have some of the veterans of the industry. You've got some of the new fabulous people who are leading the industry here. So take advantage of your time with them and enjoy yourselves, because they're going to have a lot to say, and I'm sure a lot of information that will help you make decisions about how you'd like to serve. So with that, I'm going to put the spot right on my friend Sean Wills, who I've known for a long time, who is with City Square. And Sean, what we're going to do this morning, the format is have each organization say a little bit about what they do and what they're looking for and their experience with young professionals and board members. And then I have a few questions for them to eliminate some of their thinking. And we'll go from there. And then we'll have some networking time at the end. So Sean, if you jump in, that would be great.
Good morning. Thank you all for allowing me to be here. As Janet mentioned, my name is Sean Wills. I am the Chief Development Officer at City Square. And the greatest thing about being here is that our office is right across the street, so I didn't have to very far. I could just park and walk over. But City Square, our mission is to fight the causes and effects of poverty through service, advocacy, and friendship. We work in 4 areas. We believe that poverty attacks from all different angles of life, and so we try to have programs to combat that. So we have 14 different programs that fall under hunger, health, housing, and hope. We have a food pantry, a clinic, after-school summer feeding programs, all kinds of things that I'm sure you've heard about. What we're looking for board members, someone who has a passion for what we believe. We believe that we're all rich and we're all poor, and that everyone deserves a fair chance in life. And so we don't have customers or clients. When you are at City Square, you will hear us use the words neighbors and friends, because we believe in this is one community, and it takes a community to be successful. And so we are looking for energetic millennials to help us connect to others, those with passion. We talk a lot about drinking the Kool-Aid, and so we're looking for board members who drink the Kool-Aid and who can really believe in what we're trying to do. And that is, like I said, build sustainable pathways for our neighbors so that they're on a pathway to self-sufficiency. We're changing the trajectory of lives, and that's what we're looking for, those who believe in that, who are energetic, who want to be involved and not just sign up for a board just for their own personal glory but those who want to be involved and get behind the scenes and in front of the scenes and just help us out in our mission.
Thank you.
All right. Good morning. My name is Justin Powell. I'm Corporate and Community Engagement Specialist with Dallas Children's Advocacy Center. At DCAC, we serve the most severely abused children in our community. The children we serve have either been sexually or physically abused or have witnessed a violent crime. Last year, we served over 4,000 children and their non-offending family members. Our average client is a 9 to 10-year-old girl who's been sexually abused by someone she knows and trusts. Some of the services we provide is child in therapy is art therapy, music therapy, play therapy, and animal assisted therapy. So I just want to tell you a quick story. It's a story about a little boy named Mark. So Mark was an 8-year-old boy that was sexually abused by his father. And so during Mark's therapy, he had a hard time building a relationship with his therapist. And so his therapist introduced him to a therapy dog named Keeper. And so over time, Mark and Keeper established this bond, this relationship. And so Mark would literally whisper to Keeper and tell Keeper about his abuse. And so after time went on, and after he was done, he asked his therapist would the stories he told Keeper make Keeper scared. And so this allowed the therapist to talk to Mark about being scared, expressing his feelings, and how to really deal with his abuse. And so on our board, we're really looking for young, passionate people to really diversify our board and really help talk about the things that people do to our young people. And so with your support, you can help young people like Mark and really provide a voice for the children in Dallas. Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning, y'all. My name is Michael Glosser, and my primary job is I work for a IT and business consulting firm here in Dallas called Solomon Consulting. And my other part-time job is I sit on the board of directors for an organization called Friends of Wednesday's Child. They told me this morning that this group is primarily made up of people in finance, accountants, and lawyers, so I brought some statistics, so I thought we'd speak the same language, right? This is life after foster care. So percent unemployed is 50%, percent that do not finish high school is 40%, percent that end up homeless is 35%, percent that require public assistance is 33%, percent of males that will be incarcerated, 27%, percent of females who have children out of wedlock, 60%. This organization started in 1983, really where all good ideas come from, and on golf course. A group of men and their wives got together and saw a program on Channel 8 out in Fort Worth about Wednesday's Child, which is a spotlight on foster children. Got together and decided to put together an organization for the last few decades or so. I really have focused on improving the lives of children and the education aspect of children in foster care. I joined the board of directors probably at the beginning of this year to really try to be an advocate for those going through foster care and trying to make sure that they don't end up as one of those statistics. I'm really looking for the board of directors. There's a variety of ways to give and add value, but really the number one priority, I guess, or where your mindset needs to be is there's 6,500 plus children in foster care in the DFW community, and it's really to try to make a difference in some aspect on improving and touching each one of those lives. If you have any more individual questions, please ask.
Okay, I was the veteran that she was referring to. I'm Jan Langbein. I'm the CEO of Genesis Women's Shelter and Support here in Dallas. And it was about 30 years ago that an Episcopal priest, Father Jerry Hill, was actually working in the Stupak down at First Presbyterian Church. He was sort of the street priest of Dallas. And there were some young civic leaders who came up and said, at night when it's 20 below in Dallas, Texas, where do these people sleep? And the answer at that time was under a bridge or in a dumpster, just anywhere they could find. And these young leaders, these young professionals came together and said, that's not acceptable, it's not okay to do that. and the dream of Austin Street Night Shelter for the Homeless began. While those conversations had started, these same young professionals were talking to Father Hill. Father Hill had met a young mother who was actually sleeping in her Suburban and feeding her children at the Stew Pot because it was no longer safe for her at home. And he told these young professionals of Dallas about this woman because when he tried to find a close available bed for her, the closest was actually Jacksonville, Florida. This woman wasn't chronically homeless. She was homeless because it was safer for her and her children to be on the street than it was to be in their home. And those same young professionals said, you know what, it's not okay to eat out of a dumpster, and it's not okay to sleep in your car because it's not safe at home. And the dream of Genesis Women's Shelter began in the basement of First Presbyterian Church. So these two nonprofit organizations are 30 years later now operating under the umbrella of Shelter Ministries of Dallas. Austin Street, our sister agency, Austin Street, will house almost 400 men and women every single night. It is the most vulnerable of the homeless. They are the elderly homeless. 60%. The men have to be 45 or older to be there. And when you are on the street, you might as well add 15 years to your chronological age. So if they're 45, 60, right? 45, 55, 60, we have approximately 40% every night of the guests that stay at Austin Street who are 65 and older. So this isn't a job and get them a computer class and get them up and out. This is the least of these. So this is being cared for by Austin Street Center and Genesis Women's Shelter because of the courage of that one woman and her children. Has become what started in an old secret location firehouse in Dallas, has turned into a full-service response for victims of domestic violence, for moms and kids who literally grab their kids and run in the night, or for moms who have no idea, they can't say the word abuse and haven't thought about leaving yet, but still need the counseling information referral, wherever she falls into that system. So where are the young professionals today? We love you guys. One of the things we had through our volunteer programs, so the Board of Shelter Ministries of Dallas almost serves like an executive committee of a board. Most boards do not run two agencies. So at Genesis, we actually have an advisory committee that's where you roll up your sleeves, you get involved, you chair the golf tournament, you're on one of our auxiliary boards. But there were so many young professionals who were interested in getting involved, we actually created the Genesis Young Leaders, and they are folks that they don't look like me, but they look like the rest of you all, and with a fire in their belly and a recognition that it is your age where this starts. It is your friends and your coworkers and your family members who are experiencing dating violence or domestic violence for the first time. You are the ones who can stop this. Genesis for 30 years has been responding to this, and our Genesis Young Leaders have recognized we can make a difference. We can actually stop this before it gets that bad. And so they've come together. We have about 300, is that right, Elizabeth? 300 members who 2 years ago decided not only are we going to come down and read stories and rock babies, we're going to put on the coolest party in town. So I don't know if any of you all attended the Genesis Young Leaders Masquerade Party in Trinity Groves last February, but it was amazing. So, it is, there are lots of opportunities for young professionals. We have to stop this. We have to stop this epidemic of violence against our moms and our sisters. And I love seeing young men in that organization because this is not because you men are fathers and because you're sons and brothers. And because you have the opportunity to turn to somebody and say, you know what, I'm not going to play golf with you because I don't like how you talk about your wife. And I'm not going to do a business deal with you because of how you treat your children. And when men stand up, like the mayor of Dallas stood up and called 10,000 men to the steps of City Hall and created Dallas Men Against Abuse, that's when we can turn this around for our city. Anyway, we would love to have your support. We would love to have your help. So thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Brandon Baker, and I am the COO of Keys University. So we go into low-income apartment communities, and we set up tutoring centers for at-risk children. Our focus is to provide them the educational tools and skills, along with character development, that they need to be successful academically. We think that will transition them later on into life. So we take a holistic approach with children. We don't look at just the educational components. We look at the social, the emotional, the environmental, all the different factors that could limit them from being successful. So we move on-site into low-income apartment communities. We either take over an actual apartment or a clubhouse, and we provide all of our services from there. Our three main programs are our tutorial program, our summer enrichment, and then we do a lot of family and community services such as Crime Watch. We do a food program through City Square. And the focus is on, again, eliminating the barriers to them being successful. We want to give them, we believe that it doesn't matter, the color of your skin, the size of your parents' pocketbook, what neighborhood you're from. We think that you should be successful based on yourself, based on your education. And we think that the only way to end the poverty cycle in America is through education. We've thrown money at the issues that we've seen in our country for a number of years, and it hasn't worked. So we think that education is key. So for us, what we're looking for from YP members is we want professional experience from you. We want you to come in and take the things that you're doing in your career and help us apply those to our organization. We're a smaller organization, and we're growing. We're projected to double in size in the next year and a half. So we need people to help us with that growth. We need people to, whether it's through marketing, whether it's through search engine optimization, whether it's through strategic planning. We're looking for folks to come in and work along with our board. We do have a working board to help us shape what we're going to be doing for the future. The good thing about our organization is the larger that we grow, the more sustainable that we become based on our revenue and our growth patterns. So we're looking for folks to help take us to the next step and to get us to be, a citywide recognized name for quality and for the impact that we're having on the community.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Lisa Jennikov, and I'm the chair of the board of Bryan's House. The mission of Bryan's House is to provide early childhood education to children with special needs. And when I talk about children with special needs, we're really inclusive of any kind of medical or developmental need. We have children with cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, seizure disorders, feeding disorders on feeding tubes, tracheostomies, you name it. We also have kids with ADHD, behavioral issues. And we provide, we call it medically managed child care because we do have a medical person on site, a registered nurse on both sites to take care of the children, to administer medications, to help the teachers with any sort of issue that the children would have. Children 0 to 5 are primarily who we're focusing on, although we do have a summer school age program for children. And we don't just serve the child, we serve the whole family. We provide support services for parents. And we just recently merged with a charity called Wisdom's Hope last year that works on the prevention of homelessness. We work on financial literacy education for the parents. We do parenting education with them. We provide emergency financial assistance if the water's going to get cut off because a family has an emergency 1 month. We'll step in and take care of that for them. Families that have children with special needs are totally stressed out. I mean, the divorce rate is very high in these families, and you can imagine that families in poverty are doubly stressed. Most of our families are below the poverty level, and we provide services on a sliding scale. We work with government grants. We have community partners, the Child Care Group, and Avance are some of our community partners. We have 2 locations. One is in Oak Cliff and one is in West Allis. What we're looking for on the board are young, energetic professionals. We need people to help us with marketing as well as to help our financial staff with some pretty tough decisions sometimes. We also are working on special events. We have one this fall, and we have a golf tournament in the spring. I think that's it. I've been on the board for 10 years. Bryan's House has been around for 27 years. I'm not going anywhere, and I hope you can join us.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Julie Goodman, and I'm representing the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship today. Karen Isel was not able to make it. She's the executive director. So first, I just wanted to tell you all a quick story about how I got to be sitting here today. So a year ago, I was here at the Get On Board event, and all of the speakers, panelists were up here like this. Karen Isel was sitting in one of the spots, and I went up to her after the event and said, I want to serve on Nifty's board. And she said to me, well, we don't have any open board seats. So Karen and I had a series of meetings to figure out how I could be in a leadership position at NIFTY, because this was something I was very passionate about since I've started 3 businesses, yeah, so far. So anyways, Karen and I decided that we would come up with what we decided would be a junior executive board, where we would form a board of young professionals, and we were able to recruit 6 people, just like you guys here today, that were here that wanted to serve on NIFTY's board. So that was how we got started. We started the pilot program with NIFTY in March. So if you all are here and the stars align, you could be sitting up here next year. So a little bit more about NIFTY. NIFTY is a national organization. They are also in 10 countries around the world. And NIFTY works with underserved schools in Dallas, about 14 schools in the community, teaching entrepreneurship classes and business planning. So one of the things that our young professionals do is go to the schools, be motivational speakers, be mentors. Over the summer, several of us did coaching for business plan competitions. So really great organization. Currently not accepting any board members. This is, again, the pilot program right now. So thanks for coming.
Very good. Thank you so much. I think we need a round of applause for these people. You know, when you consider the work that's done just by these 7 organizations in the community, it makes you, on one hand, think, oh my gosh, what have we not even uncovered this morning? And on the other hand, it makes you relieved that they're here, that someone is taking care of these folks. So I know we're all grateful for that. So being on a board, right? I mean, I think there's all these sort of strange imagery and myths around it, like, oh, you gotta wear a suit and you've gotta show up and it's gonna be in some tall building in downtown. You better not say anything unless you're asked to say something. And I think that is changing, you know, and so what I'd like to do when I sort of talk about or introduce the next set of questions is really focus on what do these organizations need when it comes to the next generation, the bench of new board members that's being developed? And what do you all have specifically, personally, that you can bring to the table that sounds interesting to you? Because there's something that on the one hand, yeah, board membership is a good thing. My company says I should go find a board to sit on. It's good for the company. It's good for me. I get, you know, experience. I get face time. But this is a volunteer gig. And this is going to be time consuming. And so you want to make sure that you feel like you're contributing and you're having a good time. So I'd like for us to sort of peel back the onion and say, yes, it's absolutely about all the things you'd expect, but let's really delve into what makes a great board experience? What should you ask for and look for? And what can these guys expect of you? So this is the kind of the fun part of my job this morning, is they have no idea who I'm going to ask which question of. But I'm going to start with Lisa. So if someone could pass her a mic, I think it's just right next to you with Julie. So Lisa, you've been on that board for 10 years. And I imagine you've seen a lot come and go in terms of board members and ones that have been successful and those who haven't. You mentioned some very specific skill sets that you're looking for. You also said we need people who are energetic. So would you tell us a little bit about when you see 2 or 3 new board members walk into the room each year and they have certain characteristics or they have a certain something about them, what are they bringing to the table that can be the most helpful for you?
Well, is this on? I think passion is one characteristic that you absolutely have to work in our agency. We have volunteers that come in and work with the children and rock the babies and do that kind of fun stuff. But passion for the cause is very important, and somebody who is willing to roll up their sleeves, somebody else said, and really get down to work. The board term is 2 years, and typically people are elected to 2-year terms for 6 years. And then they roll off for a while. But the people that are really committed to the mission and the cause come back on just after being off for a year. I haven't been off for 10 years because I've been elected to an office. My passion, my specialty is children with special needs, and that's where my heart is, and that's why I'm still with the agency. So like I said before, somebody who's willing to work up, roll up their sleeves and get down to work. We're not a kind of board that just pats ourselves on the back and says, gosh, we're doing such a great job. We really do a lot of work in our committees. We have, I think, 7 committees. And that's where the real work of the board is done. We meet 9 times a year, I think, but the committees usually meet every month to every 3 to 4 months, depending on the committee that you're in. So we are developing a new strategic plan right now, so people that are interested in a long-term kind of vision for the organization. We have, as I mentioned before, some financial issues that we're trying to really take a serious look at right now. We're also looking for people that like to engage with other people in the community. We're always looking for corporate sponsors, somebody to go out and just really promote Ryan's House, kind of like I'm doing today. I don't work for the agency, but I'm always happy to come to a group and just talk. And I can keep talking for 10 or 15 minutes. I don't know how long you wanted, but is that about what you needed?
Thank you. So the next question is for Jan. So if someone could pass her the mic.
I got one, but I'm not sure that.
Not sure it's on? See if we can
Yeah, this is better.
Oh,
Thanks.
perfect, great. So Jan, I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm going to have a little bit of a twist on it. You mentioned the Masquerade Party and how successful it was, and the fact that the young professionals that you all engaged did so very quickly and with a lot of passion and energy. What is it about the organization that allowed them to thrive in that environment? And when you invite new people to come to your organization, what are they going to find and how are they going to be able to be that successful? So if you could tell a little bit about that success story and what is it about what's happening at Genesis that causes that to be possible?
Well, I think there are a couple of things. When you say, first they have to be drawn to it. You have to find whatever that fire in your belly is. And these folks came thinking, you know, I want to be involved with something greater than myself, but then also with this particular issue. But what they found was an organization that says, you know what, the sky's the limit here. There's so many opportunities. What do you guys want to do? And how do you guys want to do it? And it wasn't just, you know, old folks who have been on the board for a really long time telling these kids, how to do this. But I think what the most special thing about Genesis is that you find the difference, you experience the difference between community service and civic leadership. Community service is great, don't get me wrong, but I think what we all need to be a part of is civic leadership. So at Austin Street Center, it's not just enough to come down and feed the homeless or pass out socks. Somebody has to be part of ending homelessness. It's not enough to come to Genesis Women's Shelter and rock a baby and, you know, read a story in the school. By doing so, you become part of something even bigger, which is this war worldwide to end violence against women and children. So I think I think they came down. I think they found that it was more than a shift. It was more than a 3-hole punch notebook. It is being part of a solution to something in this world. I mentioned that executive committee, the Shelter Ministries of Dallas, sort of that fiduciary, you know, umbrella that oversees both Austin Street and Genesis. Those members that are on that board, and I'm not even sure this is correct to do, but they are the same young leaders that started 30 years ago and said, I'm not walking away from this. I am going to make a difference in this world. So what I find is these young professionals come and they stay because they have found something that is fulfilling to them, but makes a difference. And we'll see them get their businesses involved, and we see them, you know, get their wallets involved. We see them on the golf course, and we, you know, see them at our other events. And as they move up in age, there are also these other opportunities. It's not just I can be a young professional at Genesis, but then you move into we have a men's auxiliary called Heroes. He respects others. And it's men who say, not in my house, and you know what, if it's not okay in my house, it shouldn't be okay if it's in your house. And they come down and grill hamburgers and, you know, take our little kiddos to baseball games. Young women have moved into our Genesis Alliance auxiliary, which is 600 women who come and, you know, adopt a family at Christmas. I just think that the success to this is it's not just for a finite time, and it's about something bigger than yourself. It's not just community service. It is. It's civic leadership.
Very good, thank you. The next question is for Sean. Sean, you have served on boards. I've served on boards with you, so I know that is a fact. Would you share a little bit about your experience on boards and as a young person, and what have been the characteristics of the most successful, fulfilling opportunities that you've had on those boards?
So, thank you for saying young, because I certainly don't feel young. For me, just finding my passion, what I'm passionate about, and going into being on a board where I can serve, and yes, I am fulfilling something that's self-gratifying, but I know, as Shan said, it's bigger than me. And so one of the boards that I serve on is the Association of Fundraising Professionals, and I am the diversity chair. And so for me, it's very important to introduce and to diversify the development officers and just development people in Dallas. I want to look around the room and see lots of different colors and races and ages. And so that was very interesting to me. It was very important to me that we introduce this profession to not just what you typically see. And so for me, I enjoy going to those meetings because I feel like I'm there and I have a voice and I am helping to change the vision and just the structure of what fundraisers look like in Dallas. And so I just challenge all of you to find a board where you have a voice and where you can use your passion to make a difference, and that you're heard, and that it's not just someone saying, oh, great idea, and then nothing ever happens, because that can be really, really frustrating. And so I just challenge you to find a board where it's okay to have a voice and to maybe agree to disagree sometimes. Even at City Square, Larry always says, if we're not failing, we're not trying hard enough. And so that allows our board to come up with crazy ideas sometimes that don't work, but that's okay, we tried, and we can't think about, well, I wonder if we would have done this. So we're, again, I just challenge you to find a board that is receptive to you and open to you, and not just looking to, check a box, or, say that we added a new board member, or we diversified our board and we meet the HUD guidelines or something like that. That's been my experience, to find your passion and your voice.
Thank you. The next question is for Michael. Michael, as you have sort of transitioned from being a long-term volunteer at the organization to serving as a board member for the organization, tell me a little bit about what new folks on the board can expect in terms of how they feel. It feels so good, like Jan was saying, it's great to go hold a baby. It's great to go have that sort of emotional, hit, if you will. And it's different serving on the board. Tell a little bit about how that fulfillment changes going from a hands-on volunteer to going to a board member.
Sure. First of all, I'd like to give a special shout out to those that are sitting here on the panel that are actually employees of their respective charities. So when you join a board, you kind of get pulled in by that passion, and you want to make a difference. And the cold hard truth is that after you realize the circumstances of those things that you represent, you want to go out there and you expect everybody else to feel the same way. And the reality is they don't. And you tell them the statistics like I shared, and you say, these kids really need your help, they need your support, and you could make a difference. And they're, it's not really for me, or I don't feel it. So, I do that on a part-time basis. I can imagine what some of these guys have to go through, the rejection that they get. Really to represent a good cause, and so make sure you say thank you to them as you meet them after this. So to answer your question, when you go and you do in a more operational structure, you can kind of get the instant gratification of what you've done. I was actually this past weekend serving with a charity called Hearts and Hammers, where they go and they build and repair homes for the less fortunate here in the Dallas area. But you're painting and you're putting in shrubs and bushes and things, and you take a step back and you realize, I just achieved that, and you see the smile on their faces, and you know that you did something impactful. But on the board, it's different. So at least for Friends of Wednesday's Child, and probably most up here, we're in more of a governance type role, where we have some employees, and they do most of the operations, and we really try to make sure that we keep it that way. So when you go in and you start on a new board, it's really about finding how you can add value. But it looks a little bit different, so I'm not going out and planting bushes or painting walls. It's really how I can make a difference, or how I can contribute in some way to bring back to the organization, and understanding immediately where that, and even when you're evaluating if you feel like you're a good fit, knowing how I can contribute, and then being able to go in there with that mindset and being able to execute on where you think that you could really help. It's not like you're going to have a boss and somebody's going to tell you what to do. You have friends that are there, really for just to rally behind the same cause. But it's up to your fresh ideas and creativity to enhance the overall vision and to help kind of guide the organization to deliver on its strategy. And once you find that niche, where and you're able to contribute and you kind of see that, even though it's not as instant, it's just as rewarding, if not more.
Thank you. Justin, this next question is for you. When you consider your organization, and all of you are here because someone has said, we should get some young professionals to help us out. We should access the energy and the enthusiasm and the creativity that is part of this generation. When you think about that in terms of your organization, what are the objectives? What's the outcome? What's the so what factor? If you had some folks from this room on your board, what do you think will happen for the organization as a result?
I really think it'll make a huge difference. Most of us in this room went to some school of some sort, got some education. And I think when you bring your skills, your professionalism, and that craft to a DCAC, it really allows you to put that skill to work, or whatever it is you're passionate about. For me, over the years, I've learned you can't teach empathy or sympathy. And so with that, I mean, you have to really be passionate about what it is that you really want to do. And I hear the word, a sense of gratification. That's what you really get when you make that decision, because at the end of the day, that's your decision to help that organization, to help DCAC, or any of the respective organizations sitting on this panel. So I really would encourage you to make that decision based on what it is you're passionate about.
Very good, thank you. Finally, for Brandon. Brandon, when you meet the board members at your organization, what impressions do you have about them? When you go to a board meeting, what do you enjoy about it? What are some of the things that you find in your other board members that cause you to say, this is really worth my time, and I enjoy the interaction?
So I get to wear shorts at my board meeting on Tuesday night. That was a very positive thing for me. Our board is really like a family, so we're a smaller organization, and the president of our board is a YP member was previously on the Mayor Star Council. His name is John Killen. So as a YP member, you can come in and you can be the leader of our organization. You can come in, you can be whatever makes you passionate. Right? Being a YP or a young professional doesn't mean that you're going to come on our board and we're going to look at you differently. We're going to say, oh, you're almost a board member, but you're not really. You are a board member. Like, you're there running our organization, and I mean, we're going to do the day-to-day, but you're there, setting the policies, creating sort of our goals, and setting the outcomes that we're looking to achieve. But when we look at, our board member truly, our board is a family. Like, we all know each other. I'm getting married in March, and every single one of them is coming to my wedding, and they were all incredibly excited about that. And we talk on a daily basis. We send ideas back together. They're always introducing me to their contacts because they're passionate about it. Like, when I leave a board meeting, I'm always, we never want to stay until 9:30 at work, right? But whenever you leave a board meeting, I'm sort of just, I don't know if it's motivation or what, but you see the passion of these people who are taking time. Every single one of my board members has kids, so they're taking time away from their kids that night, and they're making sure that they're there to help us, whether it's through the strategic plan that we're doing right now, whether it's through a growth initiative. They took their time and their passion, and they gave it to our organization. And so, it really is a family. And any of the board members up here can tell you, they know, everyone on your board. You get to know them. You develop a relationship with them. You develop sort of that time because you spend so much time in the trenches with them, helping to develop or helping to, solve some of the many social issues that Dallas has in the city.
Very good, thank you. So we're going to open up to the floor for a few questions. But first, I'm going to just sort of reflect back some of the themes that we're hearing this morning. Number one, find something you're passionate about. Every single one of these folks has said, you have got to care. Something has got to make you either mad or excited or feel something in your heart if you're going to go take your volunteer time and do your best work. And so you have the right to ask those questions when you are being asked to serve on a board by your company, or if you think you're being led to do so. Make sure you find something you care about. You are, number two, and I think Sean articulated this so well, this is about finding your voice. and making sure that whatever is the appropriate way in that board setting, you can bring forward some really important opinion and perspective. So find a place where that is welcomed. And I think, we talk about diversity, we talk about inclusion in a board setting. That's what it means. It means that everyone has the opportunity to bring forward ideas in the appropriate fashion and culture for that board setting. So if you go ask to visit a board meeting, right? If you're being considered for a board, remember that this is a two-way relationship. This is not just the board is in charge and you are there to serve, right? This is a two-way relationship between you and this entity. So make sure that you want to be in that relationship. So be proactive about exploring the opportunity and what that culture is like. Number 3 is make sure you can take action and you can practice your craft. I think that's such a great word to use, Justin, that you bring something to the table. And remember, it might not be what you do for your profession. I think we make a lot of assumptions that, oh, well, this person's a CPA, and so they should be the finance chair, right? Well, actually, you really love to play piano, and you'd rather just sort of represent the cultural aspect of it, right? So remember, it doesn't have to associate with what you do 365 days out of the year. It should be something that you feel like you can bring to the table. So those are just some themes that we're hearing: passion, action, voice, craft. Make sure that you have all of those opportunities because it is a two-way relationship. So with that, I'll open up to the floor. Anyone have any questions for our panelists? Yes?
Thank you all for being here, but I think it was Brian's house, you said there's a 2-year term. What's the commitment from the rest of you? I think it's important to know what you're getting into on running.
Sure. So,
It's kind of I'll get to your answer. When our CEO, when he started back in 1994, he was a preacher, and he didn't know anything about running an organization or having a board, so he basically got all his friends to be on the board. They're still there. We have terms, but you can continue to re-up. They're 2-year terms, but you don't have to roll off as long as it's positive, experience both ways. And so we have board members who have been on from the very beginning, and new ones that just joined this year. And so, we get those who roll off. Actually, we received a board member from Crystal Charities when you're required. In Junior League, we've received board members from grants that we received. And, that's a 1-year commitment based on the grant. But she stayed on. She's actually chairing something for me next year. And so, long story short, ours is, as long as you're enjoying it and you're fulfilling, responsibilities.
Yes, ours is a 2-year term as well. You can roll over after your 3rd year. DCAC, what I found with our board members, it's like one big family. We have a few events throughout the year, and each time I meet someone, they've been with DCAC or served on the board for many, many years. And I can just actually read you the requirements. So for our board members, must give a set amount at his or her own comfort level, must be involved in at least one committee, attend 6 meetings annually, as I mentioned, serve, well actually I take it back, it's a 3-year term, and it extends to a 2nd term after the 3rd year. Must participate in at least one special event, and just talk about DCAC, introduce DCAC to others.
thank you.
FWC has a 3-year commitment. We'll say that understanding that life happens. So we just had a board member this past year who's on into his 3rd year, but got an incredible opportunity and moved out to Seattle, I believe it was. So of course we're not going to say, oh, you still owe us another year. With that being said, too, the board meets every other month. It is an ask, a commitment that you attend. If you're frequently missing those types of things, considering there's 6, maybe 7 annually, there might be a conversation, how committed are you? Then we have our committees, and our committees meet, it all kind of depends based off of the seasonality of what you're involved in. We do different events, one being in the fall, one being in the spring, and so as those events get closer, you may be meeting more frequently. If you're on the opposite calendar side of where those events are, you may meet a little bit more infrequently. So it's kind of get in where you fit in, and during those times, you can just kind of, as he shared, as much or as little as you want, within the confines of that structure.
Yeah, so at Genesis, it's the same thing. Our senior board, the Shelter Ministries umbrella, has a 3-year term commitment, but continues to just roll over. As I mentioned, those young professionals who started it 30 years ago are still on the board. But with regards to, say, the Genesis Young Leaders, there would be perhaps a 1-year time commitment to be the president of that board, or to be, to hold an office. But there is no rolling off of the board itself. So to be on the executive committee of that, you may not want to do it for more than 1 year, but 1 or 2 years in certain positions, because it takes a little bit to get to know. I appreciated you talking about giving the money, the obligations that come with board membership. And again, the way he said it was whatever you have the capacity for. But I don't know if you know, every time we write a grant, most often they will ask what percentage of your board actually supports you financially. And it looks really weird if we're saying 45%. So as an employee, I really appreciate you all saying that. But anyway, yeah, come on. And if you get too old for Genesis Young Leaders, you just roll right into Heroes in the Alliance.
For us, it's the same as pretty much everyone else. We have a 3-year term limit, 1-year commitment if you're elected to an officer position. And we do have a commitment as well. I mean, a traditional board typically, they give a certain amount, and we want you to give. It can be $5. I don't care what it is, but we want you to give because we want you to make an investment in our organization. Because your time is an investment. Time is something that none of us will ever get back. Right, so you're investing your time in an organization, so we want you to fully invest, whether that's financially, whether it's through services or whatever. So I mean, it is important to invest because it shows other people that you are committed. You're not just there sort of patting your back or saying, oh, I'm padding my resume. You're there actually investing your time and not your money.
I would say we have a financial commitment as well. We just call it a meaningful donation for you. And those grants sure like to see 100% on your board. And you really can't fundraise effectively for an organization if you're not willing to contribute financially as well.
Great. Julie, you want to comment on?
Sure. So for NIFTY, we set it up as a 1.5-year commitment for the young professionals. But just wanted to point out, as well as Skelton and Ashley and I were interviewing different nonprofits, this was a great question to bring up because all of them have different amounts of board meetings per year, different amounts of time commitments, different amounts of financial commitments. So make sure as you're choosing a nonprofit that you're interested in serving on the board on, that you understand what all of those commitments are.
Thank you all so much. I think it's about time for us to wrap up so you all can have the balance of your networking time. But let's have one more round of applause. What a terrific event.